Hey everyone, I'm Lisa Singer. I am the Senior Editorial Director of Brand Insider at MediaPost, and this is Brand Insider BTS, where I get to pull back the curtain on some of the most influential women marketers today. And with me is Nicole Stetter. She is the head of creative at Saylor. Hey, Nicole.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, welcome. Glad to have you here. And I know especially one of the main topics with you is, being a working mom, and that's something, I mean, I speak with so many of you guys and all have your different challenges and things working and whatnot. So it's something that everyone's interested in to hear your take and to hear all of each other's takes, because that's what I love about this. This is we all learn from each other, just when you hear everyone's stories.
Absolutely. I have watched a lot of your content, and that is a theme that I've loved watching the women speak about. So I definitely relate and am so happy and honored to be able to speak about it myself.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, first of all, you are a mom of twins, which I'm a twin. So
Oh,
are
love
they boy,
that.
girl? Like what are they?
A boy and a girl.
Boy and a girl? All right,
Yeah.
which one's older?
To definitely the boy. He's the leader.
He's the leader. Well, was he born first?
He was.
Yeah, it's not so much when we get older, but I can always tell when I meet kids who are twins, I can always tell which one was the firstborn. It's just,
I
it's
believe it.
Yeah, there's definitely a personality trait that is why that one got out first.
Totally. And they love claiming it. They're like, I'm a minute earlier.
Yeah, I'm 2 minutes older than my brother, so
Oh, nice.
I'm boy girl as well. Well,
I
all right,
love that.
so now in 2016, so at that age, how old were your kids at that age?
They were about 8 years old.
8 years old. Okay, so that's you when you decided to start working remotely. And I know it's something now it's much more commonplace now, but at the time that was before the pandemic, so before we're seeing a lot of that. But at the same time, you wanted to be more present for your kids, but then also you are a career woman and you want to continue working. So talk about that initial challenge of what or even the initial fear in doing it that maybe you thought you could hurt your career a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, largely after my kids were born, like I was working part-time. I actually had them quite early, so I wasn't even done with college when I became a mom. And so
Okay,
definitely,
okay.
yeah, some interesting challenges. But I didn't even know that remote work was an option. And so when I found that opportunity, I was like, oh my gosh, this is made for me. I can really focus on my career. I was a single parent, so it was really important for me to, kind of grow up in my career and earn more money, to be candid. And so yeah, it was really kind of thrilling, also absolutely terrifying. I think in my at a young creative agency at that time in my career working in social media, a lot of people did not have kids, and so definitely felt a little odd man out sometimes, and really worried me that I needed to make sure I was showing up fully, because there were a lot of other people that could do the job that didn't have that potential hindrance of kids at home.
Yeah, well, so all right. So again, you, as you said, sort of had to figure it out having children at a young age. You weren't quite established. So at that point, you really need to establish yourself in your career while also being a good mom. And then you chose to do it, stay at home. So for someone starting up, and I think there's a good place for anyone, whether it's someone who is more established in their career and choosing to maybe take a step back or work remotely and hopefully not take a step back, or even someone just starting out, because some people do have children younger and they're not quite established, but it doesn't mean they still don't want a career. It shouldn't be an if or that, this or that. So what would you say to those people? What would you say? What do they need to get their ducks in a row? Like, what do they need to be prepared for? Or, I mean, I'm sure you were maybe winging it a bit, but there must be learnings that you have.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's really great how much the climate has kind of changed, for remote culture, and even, because of the remote culture, the parenthood element of working people. And so I would recommend, honestly, to really be authentic, be honest about your parameters and your boundaries, and really kind of over schedule things so you can kind of meticulously plan out your day and your schedule. I worked with someone who made a really great point. They were like, I, have set hours throughout the day that I work based around, daycare and bath time and things like that. And so instead of like a straight 8-hour shift, maybe there's some, kind of creativity happening in the scheduling. And so I think really kind of, planning out your day and being really candid with your colleagues and your partners in establishing that workflow can be really beneficial to, some sanity and also just being able to achieve your best work and get everything done that you want to get done. So yeah, I would definitely recommend some of those kind of more practical tips for remote colleagues that are dealing with, parenthood. And yeah, and I would just say, kind of go for what you want. Like for me, it became, once I realized remote work was even an option, it was like every job I had, that was a key factor for me. Like I almost wasn't going to settle, almost because like I couldn't, and so really kind of hunting for the thing that was right for me. It really helped me to kind of curate my life in that way.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, especially as you said today, that is not every job, and then maybe that's not the job you go for. And that's a choice. Some jobs you travel, some jobs you get
Right.
paid a certain type of whatever amount of money, some every job has its pros and cons, and you need to sort of make your checklist and what works for you. I love that you say about the scheduling everything, because especially working remotely, I know for myself, working remotely, it's like there's no schedule because it's like, oh, all right, I need to get this done and it's 10 o'clock at night. Or like you just kind of, because you don't necessarily, where as a working mom, you're forced to, all right, this is bath time, this is this time. And it almost must make you maybe, I would think, even a little bit more productive. Do you feel like that's been happening?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think knowing that there is a pretty hard out time stop for working sessions, for example, it really drives you to complete the work within that time frame because it's not so much about, oh, I got to go, rest, which is also very important, but it's like I got to go get home and have a homework session, and there's that kind of accountability from the outside party, which are your children, and so that is really kind of neat. It helps to it really helps you to kind of constrict these periods and really kind of drive for that end time. So I think it is very helpful for productivity.
Yeah, no, I definitely, because it's easy to get stuck on one thing and spend more time on something if you don't have that out. And I know I'm guilty of that. I'll just like keep diving in. I love my research. So I'll just keep going and going and going. And it's just like, oh, wait, I need to, go move on to the next thing. And so I completely see that. So I'm curious, what do people get wrong about you when they first meet you? Like, is there any assumptions that they might make?
Yeah, that's a really fun question. I, as a creative, and as somebody who's working in, developing content over my career, I think it's kind of funny to note that I actually studied psychology, and that felt like the responsible kind of thing to do. But the truth is, like, I'm a pretty silly person, and it's seriousness doesn't come as naturally to me, believe it or not. And so I think it is quick that people assume that, like, she's an uber goof, which they're not wrong. I largely am. But I think that in, being a parent, especially so young, there is a lot of, kind of strategy that I really had to develop and a lot of that, kind of stability and kind of strength in leadership in that way. And so I think that kind of is something you learn about me secondary to how kind of goofy I can be. I have a high screen time. I'm on TikTok a lot. So I kind of sometimes can't help myself. The lingo comes out. And so, yeah, I think it is interesting to note that I am a little bit more serious than maybe I come off when I'm first starting to work with new people.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, well, and I think it's because you mentioned, creating content, being on TikTok. I mean, that's obviously been a part of your world. But as you said, you started young, you sort of had to figure it out while you were a mom. And talk about that, because it sounds like, I mean, I know you started off, you owned a thrift shop or a thrift store, and it just evolved. They worked for many agencies doing creative. Now, did you just kind of find that, discover that, or like talk about your career and was this what you envisioned, or, how did you come to where you are today?
Yes, no, that's a great question. I think it was a very interesting situation. I opened a thrift shop. I got lucky and kind of got like a nice sublease deal. And I am a little bit of a hoarder. I've always kind of been a collector of things. So it felt very naturally to kind of set that up. But I think what's more interesting than that is that I hosted bands in the thrift store. And so there was really this kind of community that kind of opened up around it for its short lived period. And I was in a band. So it was just me kind of connecting the dots for my own kind of comfort and my own interests. And I don't think it was a natural that from there I really started to, having used social media for my band and things like that, really started to evolve into doing social for agencies, and I became a community manager. And so to me that is very natural, like a very natural progression. I love subcultures, I love fandoms, and I love passionate people, so it was very natural for me to just kind of you know uh, get the gig where I'm online in these communities chatting with people. And then I think from there it was learning the ins and outs of what it takes to be successful for clients, and from there learning what it takes to be successful in managing teams within an agency, and a lot of like the operational aspects and things like that. And so I think that was kind of the progression, and I think it really stemmed from me just doing what I loved, and really kind of following my nose and being true to myself and saying like, this feels like it's going to be a good time, and I need to explore that. And that really was fortunate for me to kind of be able to segue myself into a career in social media, which didn't exist, when I was in high school and I was
Right.
kind of fantasizing about the future. So yeah, really neat timing for me.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, again, it's something I say to many women like yourself. You grab at those things. Like
Yep.
you're ready for those things. You're ready to keep evolving, and that's so important. But it almost seemed natural. Like if there wasn't social media back then, which it wasn't the way it is today, you have to kind of create it yourself, whether it's within the community. Oh, you have to do something like that. So that's how it sort of evolved. But now skip to today and all the different channels and how it's being leveraged, and it's such a part of the media mix. This is something that do you have to continually learn? Like, so that person wanting to, now this is an evolved existing community, this is a career. It's not just, oh, I'm going to keep trying these things. How do you get involved? Like that first person starting out, how do they get to where you are?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one, it's kind of diving in. I find that a lot of like social hires that are made within agencies are people who did it for as volunteer work. They ran social pages for the community theater or their dance troupe or something like that. And kind of similarly, how I started running social for my band. And so I think really familiarizing yourself with the nuances of the platform is a really great entry point, almost serving as professional experience when you're applying for those types of roles. And it is always in flux. What social media was 3 years ago is not what it is today. I mean, heck, even like 3 months ago it was different. And so I think just being nimble and willing to kind of go on that ride, and you have to really maintain that curiosity, stay very curious and stay passionate, like you were saying about research. It is super important to have that energy to stay in tune and really kind of roll with the punches, because it is a little bit of a ride. And I think that that adaptability is key. And I know that there's a lot of crossover there in parenting as well. The kids change, every year they're kind of somebody different in that youthful period. And so I think there's a lot of similarities there. And I think it is really neat to think about how just kind of dabbling in something you care about as an individual can really be a great, kind of runway for building a career.
No, I agree. Even, my background is predominantly TV and doing news and entertainment and whatnot. But then as things were picking up with blogging and, I needed to create an online presence. People would want to see what I did. And I'm like, well, I can send you this, or whatever. And so I started working for free I love animals. I worked for a global animal organization and was started writing for them and had a blog, and like, so I wasn't paid, but this was again learning and being, because you have the skill sets. I think that you just need to show people that you can do it, and by any means possible. So I think that's important for anyone, whether you're in your career full on or just starting out, to really make a way in, as you said.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's just kind of fine tuning your balance, your passions and your talents, with some of the tactics, right? Like blogging, adding a layer of it that kind of gives it that power to be relevant in the modern world. So
Well, I have to ask, in a band, what did you do?
yeah, of course, yeah. It was really fun. We were a funk punk band, and I played keyboard and did some backup vocals.
Very cool. So, do you still dabble, or is the band still, can you, when we see you some weekend playing somewhere?
That is so fun. The band broke up sadly, but I am still actually making electronic music with my partner who I met in the band. So that's really fun. But a little bit more of like a bedroom producer at this point. I'm not really performing. Yeah, it takes us a while to put out a song, kind of busy with other things, but it is such a lovely hobby and really fun outlet.
That's great. Do your kids have any interest? Are they any musically inclined?
Yeah, yeah, they dabble a little bit too. My daughter's learning the guitar. She's playing the electric guitar in her room sometimes. A lot of Nirvana covers.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So, as we talked about earlier, you are a passionate advocate for moms, and especially in the industry and with work and being able to sort of help ease their time and make it not easier. It's just to make it where moms can not feel the need to say, okay, I'm either going to be a good mom or I'm going to be good at work, and sort of combine the two. And one of the quotes, as I said, I do my research. One of the things you said some of the most dedicated, eager to learn, hardest working employees are those with the most to lose, mothers. Okay, so what do you mean lose? And I kind of know what you're going to say, but do you have to lose it? Do you still have to lose it? Or is this something now that what you've been talking about, maybe you just, because you can't be perfect at everything. And so there has to be give and take. So I guess fill in that blank.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Thanks for referencing that. I think, mothers, like we were kind of talking about when it comes to time and that kind of separation, trying to find the balance. I think, we're at risk of losing a lot. For one, there's the risk of losing ourselves and our identity, whether it is career focused or even the hobbies. I think too, we're also at risk of, losing pivotal time spent with kids due to our heavy workloads. And for single moms, as I was at the time, we're at risk of losing security. So I think if you don't really find a meticulous way to kind of juggle it and make sure you're taking care of yourself through it all, like it can be unsettling even if you're the only earner for your family. And so I think it is really important for us to really kind of celebrate the grit that it takes for parents in general, largely mothers, and especially single mothers, to really kind of be carving out that time and really striving for that balance, imperfect as it is. And so I think that's why I really celebrate the idea that sometimes it's the hardest working people that really have a lot to lose. Like we were saying, you're gonna kind of work your booty off to get to that time
Yeah.
cutoff because you're like, I need to do that homework time, and I want to be there for bath time, and so I think that really gives power to an employee. It really kind of adds layers of dedication. And so, yeah, I really appreciate you referencing that. And I think it really should be celebrated.
Yeah. Well, don't mind me. I'm not crying at your, I'm like having this tickle and I'm like holding it back as
Oh,
I
that's
feel
an honor.
tears coming down my eyes.
I am very emotional myself, so I love
It's such a
that.
heartwarming story. Thanks so much for sharing, Nicole.
Of course. Oh my gosh, my pleasure. You're gonna make me cry now.
Okay. On that note, going back to Saylor, your
Yeah.
agency, one of the taglines is an entertainment-led creative agency for brands ready to make waves. Okay, so when are you, or when have you, making waves in your life personally?
Yes, I love that. That is such a fun line from Sailor, and it is so true to what they do. And I really do feel like I belong in that way because I feel like it is my nature to make waves. when I made the choice to have my twins at 19, it definitely was a little bit of a shock to the fam. And so that was definitely wave making. I wasn't entirely sure that I was ready, but I was really excited for the opportunity to be challenged, and challenging it was, but also the most incredible thing I've ever done in my entire life. I feel like I could live a couple lives, and it would be hard to compare to that experience. And so, yeah, I'm really excited about being able to kind of represent that angle of career, in being, a mom to those two beautiful, crazy teens.
Yeah,
So yeah.
that's awesome. All right. So are you still making waves today?
Um, yes, I definitely aim to. I think making waves is, again, it really kind of ties to just doing what is so intrinsically important to you. In a world where we are, there's so many gaps to fill, and we do have to follow certain paths, and we have to get certain things done. And so I think staying super true to who you are. I am nearing 40, and I am still making electronic music in my bedroom, as I stated. And so I
Huh?
think that, it's super important. Like, I got a tattoo a couple weeks ago of a grocery market chain because I had a fond memory in a parking lot there. And so I think it's just
And you
important.
what chain?
Yeah, it's food for less.
Really? That's
Yeah.
a big title.
Yeah, it's a commitment to a brand, that's for sure. But I just think it's fun to, kind of live loosely, and really just kind of be silly. And I love kind of hanging on to certain memories. I think that, they're kind of building blocks to who we are. And so I think just being, uber yourself is probably some of the most exciting kind of waves one can make.
That's awesome. No, and it's funny. You keep saying Uber. Every time you say that, I just keep thinking you're talking about ride shares.
Yeah, sorry.
No, she means it as a lot.
Yes, yeah. The
Big.
pre app meaning, I guess.
I'm like, what? She's now driving Ubers? Okay.
All my
Okay.
free time.
Okay, so there is I like country music. I love the stories. I listen to the words. Like that to me is why got me into country music. And Brad Paisley has a song out, and it's Letter to Me. So it's basically it's like if I could write a letter to me and send it back to myself at 17. And then he goes on to say things, like he'd make sure to do a full stop at the stop sign, or like he would fill the tank on his date or something. Like they're little things. They're not, and he also has some big like life momentum things, but they're also just those little things like, stay out late, or maybe don't stay out late because you get caught. Give me three that you would say, what would be included in your letter? One can be momentous, but two have to just be something little, whatever, and you're just like, oh, if I knew that my mom was going to call me, I would have, or whatever.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so fun. I also have I'm very partial to country myself, so that's very fun. I'm a big Loretta Lynn fan. So yeah, that's a great question. I would say for the more profound one, I would really want to tell my younger self to just slow down, kind of stop and listen to your heart, be connected with your heart. I think I was just quite a busybody, and I think it's really important to stay connected to, your emotions, and let yourself feel and let yourself experience, pain, which is a part of, us growing as people. And then I would also want to tell myself to please pay attention in Spanish class. Like 3 years, and I should be able to speak it so much better. And now I'm like looking into paying for classes, and I'm like, I had all that time with those teachers. I wish I knew it better.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think lastly, oh man, I have a penchant for loving cars that are horrible to me. So I had a 1994 BMW wagon, and I wasted so much money trying to
Um,
make her go. Yeah. So I'd be like, just hang a picture of her on your wall, and maybe not invest so much in that.
okay. All right. Those are good ones. I agree with completely with the pay more attention in Spanish class. I would love to speak another language.
Yes.
And I was just in Spain actually, and I was just using my little app, like reading into it. And so
1,000%. Yeah.
no, I definitely would want that too. Okay, what's your guilty pleasure?
Oh, okay. So that's fun. It's a little cliche, but I love dining out. And, when the kids were younger, it was like Monday through Friday, there was a big kind of cooking schedule. And like, Monday we're having lasagna and, it was necessary for that order. And now that they're teenagers, it's like, oh, they're going to jujitsu or they've got to do this photo project with a friend. And so I have this kind of increasingly guilty pleasure where I'll look at my partner and say, hey, should we go out to dinner on a Wednesday? It feels so naughty. And we used to try to keep it just for the weekends. And so, yeah, I'm kind of in this like indulgent dining out era right now.
What is an indulgent, like where is your go-to for dining out?
Yes, fun question. There's so many great little restaurants in the area where I live. And so I'm a big fan of Checkered Hall on Figueroa in Los Angeles and Highland Park. They have a cute patio and just like little tapas. And so, yeah, it's kind of a nice little, feels like I'm on vacation in my own city, which just feels so indulgent on a Wednesday.
That's one thing I do miss about being in Cal. I mean, back in New York, but I'd been in California for a number of years, and all year round, being able to sit outside and eat,
Oh, yeah,
have drinks, whatever. And it's just, it does. It gives you that vacation feel just for the sake of being able to do that.
totally. And you feel so spoiled and you're just like, wow, this is such a treat. So much gratitude for that.
I completely agree. Okay, so back to my snooping, and on Saylor's website, your agency lists values. Okay, so I'm going to turn a few of them on you.
Okay.
One of the things they say, it says on the website, we are social. Okay, so what do you like to do aside from the dinners we just established? What do you like to do for fun?
Yes, yeah, that's a great question. I feel so lucky to have built this beautiful community of women in the industry, people that I've worked with at different agencies. And so I tend to do kind of a rotation, like see somebody new once a week. I try to aim for once a week. And if not, then it's sometimes like calls with people in different states, a lot of who have become mothers recently. And so there's just this really neat community of people, just kind of validating each other, sharing experiences, catching up on the new, kind of trends in social. And I really think that that's been instrumental to me feeling, kind of secure in my career and as things change around me. And so, yeah, I think, also even just sharing memes with each other or sharing, reels with each other on social in our little group chats. I think, social can be digital, but then it can also really just be, the community you build around yourself. And so, yeah, I definitely try to align with Saylor in that way.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, next one. We are creative. Okay, so where, and I guess, all right, so we've already talked about your creating music and all of that. So we'll think about where are you creative in your personal life?
Yeah, that's really fun. I feel like I like to express myself in how I dress. And so
Oh, okay.
yeah, I'm a bit of a collector of things. I like to thrift shop a lot. And me and my kids kind of have lately been sharing clothes. And so it's kind of fun curating an outfit, not just so much, for like, fashionability's sake, but more so like, this is how I'm feeling today. And Nicole with her hair down versus Nicole with like an updo, like those are different people. And so I think there's a lot of expression in kind of sharing your vibe for the day and how you feel in a period of time like spring or 2025 is, there's a lot of different ways to kind of categorize like who I am at different times. And so, yeah, I would say that expressing myself and my creativity through how I kind of, walk outside of the house is quite big for me.
Yeah, well, I'm curious, is it the way you like, do you wake up feeling, okay, I feel like this, so I'm going to dress like this? Or is it, I have this big meeting today, or I mean, you've got to be more professionally dressed there, so that might be too obvious, but or I have this today and I want to dress like this to make me feel this way. Which
Yeah.
direction?
That's a great question. So honestly, I think it's a little bit of chaos in my mind where there's so many considerations to your point. It's like, is there a meeting today? What am I doing in person? A lot of it sometimes is that over meticulous planning that we talked about where it's like, well, I'm going to go for a run today. So I shouldn't wash my hair, And so it's a little bit of kind of juggling all of that, all of those considerations. And then in that also considering like, is it kind of casual or like, is the sun out and is today a day I'm wearing a skirt, which is a little bit more rare. And so, yeah, just kind of checking all of those boxes and really, kind of refining the way I'm showing up for that particular day, depending on the needs of that day.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right. And I just got you to do one more.
sure.
We are trusted. So I want to ask you, not about trusting, but has your trust ever been betrayed? And if so, one, can they get it back? Or two, how do you even get through that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I love that about Saylor. I think Saylor has amazing relationships and such a strong team. So the idea of us being trusted is super important to who we are. And I do think that on the flip side of that, there is a lot of, room for error because we're all kind of human. And so I think that, I've definitely had my trust betrayed before. And I think that for me personally, I am big on second chances. I am big on remembering, me and my kids like kind of share this quote with each other a lot. Like, it's everybody's first time living. And so I think that there is some, power for our own mental health too in, definitely finding opportunities to set boundaries, but giving grace. One of our key points for leadership at Saylor is like assume good intent, and I think that is so important because at the end of the day, we're all trying our best, and we're all just trying to show up and make great things online and entertaining things, and have a good time with each other and learn from each other. And so I think the more we can kind of set up kind of graceful arenas for us to, be clear with each other, be concise with each other about when things work and when things don't, assume good intent, and then really kind of give opportunities for growth and learning. I think that is really key for evolution, within ourselves and within our teams, and really just in life in general.
Yeah, no, I love that quote, what you said. This is everyone's first time living. Did I say it correctly?
Yes, yes, yes.
So, because I mean, I pretty much go into things with yes, that think they're doing it for good reasons until they don't. Like, you know what I mean? I
Yes.
look at things that way. I don't usually look at into the negative way. That
Yeah.
said, when it is broken, and I'm curious if I forgive. I forgive a very. I want to forgive, and I really am. All it takes is you coming up and apologizing or whatever. But I feel like you never always go back to the same. Like I don't know. I feel like there's I forgive, we'll move on, but there's always something a little bit that changes things. I'm curious, do you find that as well, or are you able to really go fully back?
Yeah, no, that is a great question. I think it would almost be like self-abandonment to not, to some degree, remember, because I think it's important for us to protect ourselves. Like, I'm a big Brene Brown fan, and I know it's really important, within that kind of realm of thinking to like, set healthy boundaries and be clear about what works and what doesn't work. And I think that that's super important. I just personally think that like harboring grudge energy, can be detrimental to one's mental health, but can also kind of infect a team sometimes. And so I think it's important to really kind of create those parameters. Like, you don't want to blur the lines and be too fuzzy in the center. It's like, here's the capacity with which we can still kind of work and we can still move forward. But at the same time, it's like, I need to set a certain boundary and make sure not to let this person in this particular way because the lesson has been learned. And, you want to make sure to learn from mistakes and evolve accordingly. So I think it's a little bit of a fine line, and achieving that balance is probably more of an art. But it's super important to do because I think, you want to stay happy and healthy, but you also want to make sure that you're progressing and driving forward. So,
Yeah, no, and I completely agree. You're the one hurting more. You hold that grudge. It's really
yes,
not bothering that person. It's
so
bothering
true.
you. It's all about that's the only thing that's being affected or impacted is you. They have their own thing going on. So I just feel like why not? If there's
Yeah.
if there's a possibility, I'm not saying there are certain things that people do that there isn't. But in general, I feel like if you don't let go, you're the only one who's really going to suffer. So I totally agree. So, but one more question I want to ask you.
Sure.
What refuels you at the end of the day? So how do if you get
Yes.
home, how do you replenish yourself? Or maybe it's not even at the end of the day, maybe it's the morning, but something that really gets you back to you.
Yeah, I love that. I'm a big refueler, so that is a fun question. I used to do the revenge procrastination bedtime for a big period of my 20s, and thankfully have grown out of that. But I would say that one, it's hearing a rundown on my kid's day. There is something really fun about the energy of a 16-year-old being like gossiping about their friends and kind of, and it's so fun to go back to in my own mind, like where I was at that time and how passionate I felt at that age about certain things, and really being like a sounding board for them. And I think that that is so fulfilling to me. And then I love to pair that with immediately after watching the most intricate, stressful sci-fi series you can imagine. Like whatever's out there, like I will watch it and I'll be like, kind of quivering from how, kind of stressful it was. But for some reason, that like mental exercise of like trying to master the Easter eggs and all of that is weirdly calming to me. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. Now I can go to bed. So yeah, it's a combination of those things, I'd say.
Well, very cool. Well, I do not do either, but I'm glad it works for you.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Maybe I'll grow out of it, but we'll see.
Works, it works.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. You were great. It was such a pleasure getting to know you.
You too. Thank you so much for the time. It was so fun.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And thank you for watching. Please, as I always say, if you know another woman marketer who's as fabulous as Nicole and you want me to pull back the curtain on them, please let me know and I will do my best to get her. So again, thank you for watching and thanks again, Nicole.
Thank you.